UMass Amherst is the flagship campus of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The university has always been the trailblazer in many different fields of research. Their new department revolves around mystical creatures, especially the elusive society of the Cynocephali. The Cynocephali are believed to be an ancient race of dog-headed men, but they have only been theorized since no one has actually filmed or photographed the species. The word Cynocephaly even literally means dog head. Reports of this race can be traced back to Greek antiquity, and representations appeared throughout different Egyptian gods, such as Dumatef, Wapawet, and Anubis. Many ancient Greeks believed in the existence of this race of dog-headed men. Examples include Ctesias, a Greek physician, Megasthenes, a Greek traveler, and Herodotus, who reported that Libyans claimed this odd species inhabited the east of their lands. Ctesias and Megasthenes, who both lived between the 5th and 4th century BC, wrote about how the society of the Cynocephali were extremely primitive. These ancient Greeks stated that the dog-headed men dressed in animal skins, primarily ate raw flesh, and communicated through barking, but surprisingly had a love of justice. These depictions were quite different than the more ancient interpretations of the society that labeled the dog-headed men as monstrous beasts with long hair, sharp tusks, and fiery breath that inhabited the outermost rims of the civilized world. The outer rim of civilization at the time was believed to be eastern India and the deserts of Africa. In Paul the Deacon's History of the Lombards, the Cynocephali were known to be allies with the Lombards. The dog-headed men struck fear in both the hearts of their enemies and allies, since they were documented to drink the blood of fallen foes during battle. Many people who never saw the society and only heard folktales thought that these stories must just be crazy pagans living in the middle of nowhere that wore animal masks in battle. Pliny the Elder wrote in his text titled On the City of God Against the Pagans that the Cynocephali was rather a grim society. He wrote about how Augustine, the bishop of Hippo, who lived during 400 BC, thought of the Cynocephali as animals who lacked a human soul due to their lack of rationality. According to Augustine, animals lack rationality and therefore were not descended from Adam and Eve and cannot be saved through God. This idea was further supported by the dog-headed men lacking a language and barking at each other for communication. Augustine's thoughts about the dog-headed men can best be summarized in the following statement. What am I to say of the Cynocephali, whose dog's head and actual barking prove them to be animals rather than men? With all these different interpretations, the new department here at UMass made it their mission to once and for all settle the mystery behind the race of dog-headed men and film the society for the rest of humanity to see. I am your host, Chris Busey. I hope you enjoy this truly groundbreaking journey you're about to experience. The dangers are real, the videos are real, and the society of the dog-headed men is real. This is Cynocephaly, the solved mystery of the dog-headed men. In the 9th century, Ratramnus, a monk from Corby, wrote to Rimbert, a priest known for his trips to pagan kingdoms of Denmark and Sweden, about the dog-headed men. Rimbert explored the northernmost regions of the known world and thought that the dog-headed men were in fact humans and not animals. Ratramnus used the descriptions of the society from Rimbert and ancient literature about Saint Christopher to determine that the dog-headed men were rational beings. Saint Christopher was a creature of monstrous heritage who converted to Christianity and was martyred during the murderous reign of the Emperor Decius. Ratramnus thought that the community the dog-headed men lived in meant they had some sort of social contract, since they upheld laws that allowed individuals to live and work together, and the basis for these laws is morality. Also, the dog-headed men had agriculture and work clothes, which means that they had the capacity for reason and felt modesty. Lastly, we hope to answer all these claims in our journey.
My name's Connor Sullivan. I'm a grad student here at UMass. My job on this journey is mainly organization. I've always been fascinated with werewolves, but to be honest, I'm quite nervous about the journey.
We plan on heading to the northernmost regions of Canada. Ancient literature says the dog-headed men lived in the mountains near the Indus River, an island called Minicia, the northern part of Europe, or the Isle of Man. Some accounts even said that these dog-headed men lived in southern Egypt and amassed a fabulous wealth. The journey should take us 2 weeks, so we better get started.
Listen to the wind blow, watch the sun rise. Run in the shadows, damn your love, damn your life. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. If you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain.
After a very long journey, we have finally made it to this primitive society in northern Canada. So let's take a look around. We spent roughly an hour searching around their dwellings. They seem to have mastered the art of masonry because their buildings were made of handmade bricks. The buildings were oddly arranged into a rectangle. Connor and I believe this to be a ritual to their gods. Shortly after searching the property, we were attacked by 2 creatures with the head of a wolf. We were brought and held in a living room while these creatures barked the entire time. They seemed to understand English. We explained how we were filming a documentary and wanted to film their society. The wolf-headed men were angry, but let us leave. On our way off the property, we were approached by one of the wolf-headed men, and he agreed to do an interview. If 1, his identity remained anonymous, and 2, we gave him our boots in return. All translations were done using Google Translate. First off, thank you for being here. I know you have limited time, so we'll try to make this quick. First question, what is your name?
My name is Mo Sherwood of Hopkinton.
Nice to meet you, Mo. So can you tell us a little about your language in this community? I know you bark, so can you just tell us about that?
The moment we are born, we know how to bark. Everybody has a distinct bark and can communicate with each other clearly. We do not think it is necessary to speak another person's language. Most members of our society understand English and Spanish.
Very interesting. Would you consider your society dog-headed men or wolf-headed men?
We do not care, just don't call us werewolves.
Are you a fan of cats?
Hate them.
So I see you're wearing clothes. Can you tell us more about the style of clothing here in the Cynocephali community?
Yes. Our community makes all our own clothing. We mostly wear sweatpants and sweatshirts from our favorite American sports teams. Boots keep our feet warm.
So, how are you able to afford all these modern-day luxuries?
Stock market.
Okay, so moving on. Does your society practice any religions? For example, St. Gunther, who was the greyhound who slaughtered the viper and saved the baby.
We do not associate with St. Gunfort. We practice many different religions, and some of us are even atheist.
Very interesting. Did you ever meet a priest named Rimbert? Because he said, and I quote, your society was the least bit monstrous.
That name sounds familiar, but he probably visited one of our sister societies that are less aggressive than us. We like to attack any unknown person.
Yeah, I figured that one out the hard way. Did your community ever come in contact with Alexander the Great? Because he wrote about having a skirmish with you at one point.
Yeah, we had some fisticuffs, but it did not last long. We have a monument in the middle of our community to commemorate the battle.
Very noble. Does your community really drink the blood of fallen foes during battle?
You? No. We believe in guerrilla warfare because being hidden is important.
So, what does your community usually eat? Do you have craving for raw flesh, like the descriptions say?
No. I prefer my meat cooked medium rare. Personally, I like to eat goldfish, popcorn, and chicken salad mostly.
That sounds very yummy. So ancient descriptions said your community typically had long hair, but I see under your hat you have rather short hair. Can you tell us more about the hairstyles here in your community?
Get a number 4 fade on the sides, but light layering on top.
Very stylish. So I must ask, I hear your community once lived in southern Egypt and amassed a fabulous wealth. Is this true?
We had a spacious timeshare there once, but we sold the place when the housing market crashed.
I'm sorry to hear that. So just 2 more questions. 1, do you have a love for justice? And 2, do you consider yourself human or animal?
We all believe that the idea of a soul does not have to be defined. It does not need a label. Whether we are defined as humans or animals, it does not faze us. We are loving creatures with our own unique view of life.
Mo, I thank you for your time. I've had a blast here, but I need to head home. I really appreciate it.
No problem. If you are ever back in the area, give me a ring.
Were these dog-headed men dehumanizing descriptions of foreign peoples? Or they distorted descriptions of real animals? Regardless of personal opinion, studying the society of dog-headed men has explored what it means to truly be human. Morality, reason, and a social contract are common themes for civilized societies.
Gonna take a freight train down at the station, Lord. I don't care where it goes. Gonna climb a mountain, the highest mountain. I jump off, nobody gonna know. Can't you see?